Are you one of God's chosen? What does the chosen even mean? Obviously, the Bible tells us that there are chosen people, and those are the Israelites. So I'm just going to read here what it says about the Old Testament and the chosen people. The Bible, particularly in the Old Testament, identifies the Israelites as God's chosen people. In passages such as Deuteronomy 7:6, it says, "For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for his treasured possession." Out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth, that this idea of chosenness is connected to God's covenant with Abraham. And you can refer to that in Genesis 12, chapters 1 through 3.
Well, alas, no, because in the year 1881, another famous visitor visits Israel, and he visits this land, and he writes also his memoirs, okay? His name was Arthur Penrhyn Stanley. He was a very famous courtier at Queen Victoria's court, okay? And he came here on a special visit. And he says, I look south and I look north. He says, I'm in Judea, and I see nothing. He says, a barren expanse. And they both express, both Twain and Arthur Penrhyn Stanley say the same thing. When will the Jews come back and bring this land to life? And the answer is right there.
Where God promises to make Abraham's descendants a great nation and bless all the nations through them. And hence the reason why this strong emphasis here in America to protect Israel.
My grandparents taught me the Jewish faith. The Jews are the chosen people by God. This is a godly decision on my part. Money has nothing to do with it. So you deal with the murder. You deal with the murder. You're representing the murder.
At all costs. And I think what people are misunderstanding is that even though many people see Benjamin Netanyahu and his cronies as not the true Israelites, what they're protecting is that land. And that land is considered holy land. Where they're sitting is the bedrock of basically the faith that we as Christians or people across the world that are religious people would consider the land that is given to people who are chosen by God. And the Bible tells us that that is the Israelites. So whether it's a fake Israelites there temporarily, still they're protecting that space so that, Islam doesn't move into that, Christianity doesn't move into that. Watch my videos where I talked about what they were doing to Christians there in Israel. Watch my videos where you see that there's so much contention because you've got 3 major religious groups in that holy land, and who are the chosen ones, right? So to continue, it says the New Testament expands this concept, emphasizing that faith in Jesus Christ opens the door for all people, Jew and Gentile alike, to become a part of God's chosen people. For example, 1 Peter 2 through 9 refers to Christians as a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, highlighting that God's covenant and promises are now extended to all believers in Christ. This shift reflects a spiritual chosenness based on faith rather than ethnicity. So that's important to understand about. They're probably more than likely God's favorite. Now, many of us hate to admit it, but sometimes, we play favorites. Now, I like to preface this with saying, I think there's certain connections that parents have with children that allow them to feel more connected, and that's why it seems that child is their favorite. Overall, if you're a good, decent, loving parent, you love all your children exactly the same. For me, for example, in my family, my mother and I didn't see eye to eye, and she had her favorites, which was my younger sister. She might deny that. I want to talk about this because a lot of people always say, how do you know? How do you know if you're a chosen one? I like to say the people who are truly favorites or chosen by God see through all the bullshit. I mean, have you ever asked yourself this question? Why do I feel like I don't relate to much people? Like I feel so isolated and alone. Like many people don't really get me. Chosen people have a tendency to have a very small friend group. Also, people who are typically awake have a tendency to not care about celebrities, social media, entertainment industry, paparazzi, major mainstream sports. Chosen people also find it hard to find other chosen people. Usually they'll find out that, wow, this guy over there in another country understands exactly what I'm saying and gets me. But why is it the people in my own community seem like just NPCs, like they don't really know what's going on or they don't have a clue? Perhaps you feel you don't belong here. I mean, I've woken up every day of my life thinking, how did I get here? What brought me to this planet? I've sought out spiritual things. I've sought out New Age things. I've sought out Christian, Jehovah's Witness, Muslim faiths, all kinds of other little faiths. And it all brings me to the same understanding that we are all God's people, okay? It's like the analogy I gave of a mother or a parent with their children. I could love my children all equally the same. I would not know what to do if anything happened to any of them. What I do know is that there are certain connections that you have with your children that play different with each child. And it does not mean you don't love your children the same. It just means that there's a connection that you have there that bonds you beyond what we see here in the physical. And it's like, for people who experience this and they know what I'm talking about, it'll make sense to you. And it does not mean you don't love your children. There was this thing I came across on Facebook, and it was this question of, if all three of your children were drowning, and this is a horrible thought, but which one would you reach out to save? And it was so interesting when I asked this question out loud. My eldest daughter, who I'm extremely close to and I love so much, said, Mom, I would want you to save the baby. I said, why? And she goes, because she's experienced the least amount of life. When you raise all your children to realize they're all special to you in every single way, you will understand that analogy. Israel is kind of like the baby. And this is why you see so many religious people in the world say, we have to save Israel, we have to save Israel. Because they've been brainwashed into this concept that they're the only people that are chosen. And as I've read there, you see that this extends out. And that was from ChatGPT where I got that information. So this wasn't like something I made up. This is what they're wanting us to know, because everything is programmed to let us know this is what we want you to say. But got to reach a point where we see value in each other and we realize that chosenness is not really you being special or above other people. It's about you understanding the importance of taking care of the innocents. Chosenness, it does make you feel like sometimes you're apart, but the more we realize that we're all in this together, the more we start breaking all of these horrible spells that have been casted in our brain that somebody's more special than you. It boils down to this feeling of the people being awake, the ones knowing that this is really truly our purpose, is to love one another and get along and to put everyone in the same level and realize that we're all human, we're all seeking the same things, we all want the same things out of life. And if we could do that, we would solve all the hatred and all the wars and and I think people are getting there. I truly believe to so many Americans that people are getting there. Everyone's so tired. They're so tired. The ones that aren't tired, they're the ones stuck. They're the ones that I say, in my opinion, are not chosen because they have not woken up. So do you understand what I'm saying here is once everyone could get to the same level of enlightenment, I think we're going to actually have peace in the world. So have a great day. Remember, think for yourself.